What is up? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back and welcome into the season finale of the Seattle Mariners post-game recaps. Mariners do finish out a nice little sweep over the A's to finish 85 and 77 and actually finish up a pretty nice month of September overall. Before I dive into it, do me a favor, smash the like button. You know how much it helps out. Comment your thoughts down below. And for the last post-game recap, hit that sub button. Helps out the channel tremendously. Once again, thank you everybody for all the support this year. Goes by way too fast as always, but I know I did kind of a thank you video, but thank you all again for supporting the channel from game one all the way until game 162. There will be plenty of off-season content. I might take like a week or two off, just going to see if anything happens. Obviously, I'll come on with any news, but just going to take probably a little bit of a break, at least a week, and then I'll probably have a video up going into some of the off-season stuff. But and I do apologize about not having a video up yesterday. We were out and about last night and didn't get home to like 11, 12 o'clock. Was going to do a video this morning, and then I'm like, well, the game starts at noon, so I'm going to get that video up by 10:30, then the finale up by 3. I'm just going to combine it into one video. So last night, Mariners get a nice win, 7-6 in walk-off fashion. Thought Emerson Hancock was fine, did his job, kept the team in the game, kind of what he's done all year. And truth be told, I think the Mariners did win all 3 of Emerson Hancock's starts after he filled in for Luis Castillo with the ankle injury. So not perfect, but right now, Hancock's kind of your 6th starter, and he did what he 6th starter needs to do. Goes out there and gives the team a chance to win a ball game. Not perfect. More walks and strikeouts is never a good thing, but a fine outing from Hancock. Certainly not someone that I would claim has been worth like the first round pick that he was, but he's been perfectly acceptable, as your swing starter guy. And, if the Mariners, again, assuming they keep the rotation together, we'll see, as a guy that can perfectly come in and make some smart spot starts for you and you feel pretty comfortable. Luke Raley hits the big 2-run home run off Mason Miller. Really impressive. And a tremendous season from Luke Raley. Finishes strong with the big home run. Cal homered last night and then homers again today. Passes Mike Piazza for most home runs by a catcher through his first 4 seasons. Anytime you are doing something offensively as a catcher and passing Mike Piazza, you are doing pretty darn well. Cal also with the 2-run home run today gets to 100 RBIs on the year. Love the big dumper. Love his honesty when he talks as well. Really a leader for this team, a captain, and super proud to have him as my team's catcher. My family's favorite player, so hoping to try get to spring training next year and meet the big dumper, at least for my kids and my wife, and my mom loves the big dumper, so that's the goal for 2025 spring training. But tremendous season from Cal. A little disappointed to see Colin Snyder struggled yesterday. Langoliers gets him for the 3-run home run. Tremendous year for Colin Snyder. One bad outing doesn't make a season. You can see a little fatigue. Snyder, Troy Taylor, I think both down the stretch, probably pitch more than they ever have at the big level. Well, certainly for Taylor, for Snyder at the big league level, in sort of a playoff race down the stretch. A lot of wear and tear there, but Snyder, tremendous season, disappointing ending, but still a great year. Bizzardo did a nice job yesterday. I thought Bizzardo had a real solid September. I'd be curious to take away that outing against Texas where he almost blew the 6-run lead. And I think his numbers actually pretty good. I think he finishes with like the lowest FIP on the team or something. Not that FIP means everything, but Bizzardo flashed some good stuff this year, and I thought it was pretty solid, honestly, along with Troy Taylor here. Good to see some of the young guys produce out of that bullpen down the stretch. And then Justin Turner with the walk-off hit. Yes, it was a ground ball that could have been a double play, but good for Justin Turner to get the Gatorade bath and get to celebrate after the game. Sounds like Turner is open to coming back. Sounds like some of his teammates, you heard Cal Raleigh mention it. I think George Kirby, and I want to say someone else talked about it as well. They'd love to have Justin Turner back. I'm all for it. I know he's going to be 40 next year. And listen, anytime you get to age 40, there's a chance of a drop-off. There's no sure things, outside of, I think, signing Juan Soto, that there's not going to be a lot of sure things. But one thing about Justin Turner, listen, the team's going to have multiple holes. First base, possibly DH. Second base, possibly third base. You plug in Turner first base, he can DH. He's going to give you that 105 to potentially 112, 113 WRC plus. He's not going to strike out. He's going to also give you good veteran presence and extension of that coaching staff. Mariner Sir always talks about the term I love, cage guys. He's one of them. That's what Cal talked about. He's always around the batter's box, or the batting cages, I should say, helping coach, get guys going. And I think having a guy like that from day one on the roster will help. I firmly believe the Mariners made a mistake moving on from Carlos Santana after 2022. Now, I think part of it was Pittsburgh kind of snuck in there and signed Santana. I think the Mariners did want him back, but I think missing him last year was a key piece. Not only was Santana clutch and had good numbers, you miss that veteran presence. Now, I'm not trying to say too, like if Justin Turner's, numbers here were batting 190 with a 217 OBP and a slugging of 300, I'd be going, oh, hey, veteran presence, get him in here. But he's producing still. It's got to be both, right? You still have to produce a little bit. But I think that with the added bonus of the veteran leadership, there's going to be some good first basemen out there. Pete Alonso, Christian Walker. It sounds like the Cardinals are moving on from Paul Goldschmidt. So there's certainly going to be some names out there. So I understand. I'm not saying like this has to be done tomorrow or anything like that, but I'm up for a 1-year deal for Justin Turner. You give him a couple mil, and you feel like first base and even DH a little bit because he can do both is taken care of. It doesn't block Tyler Locklear or anything. And Locklear had a chance to kind of earn it this year, was a little banged up and was so-so when he played. So listen, if Turner stinks next year, you DFA him and give Tyler Locklear a shot. If the team doesn't contend and Turner's pretty good, you're going to get something for him at the trade deadline. So I think it makes some sense to bring Justin Turner back. And it doesn't have to be if you really wanted to go after a Christian Walker. We'll see if the team is spending more. You can still have Turner DH and Walker at first, so it could still work out. It doesn't mean you're out on the other guys necessarily either. Moving on so it's good to see Justin Turner finish. Real nice job as a Mariner. So helped get a steady presence at first base that they needed after Ty France was let go. So moving on to today, Logan Gilbert, outstanding. So happy Logan finished with a strong outing. Was perfect through 5 2/3. Thought there was a chance, but Nick Allen got him for a base hit. Dan did the right thing, took him out, allows Logan Gilbert to get that standing ovation that he deserved. Certainly September was not his best month, right? 4.6 ERA overall, but that was coming in today. That's obviously going to go down. But Logan was fantastic all year. In terms of things to blame for the Mariners not getting in, Logan Gilbert is not on the list. Yeah, it would have been nice if he pitched better in Houston a couple nights ago. There was one in Oakland that I thought he could have been better in the start, but Logan was still a huge asset all the times during April, May, and June when Logan was lights out. Where was the offense? So it's a tremendous year for Logan Gilbert. Certainly a guy I would say is probably in line to be your number one, your opening day starter next year. Obviously a long way to go till then, but good to see Logan finish strong. Rough outing for Gabe Spire. Definitely a disappointing kind of a lost year for Spire. Just never got that velocity back. But Gregory Santos throws a shutout inning. And then Troy Taylor finishes up. I mentioned Taylor earlier with Snyder. Not quite as sharp down the stretch, but I am very excited going in next year to have this bullpen with Troy Taylor with a full spring training with the big league club, getting ready to pitch. Santos, hopefully back healthy, ready to go. Matt Brash, Munoz, Snyder. Now, I think there's a chance you might see a trade in there somewhere. But as of right now, looking pretty good for the outlook for the bullpen next year. So, Santos definitely a disappointment, just couldn't stay healthy, couldn't get out on the mound. But we know when he's out there, he can be lights out. So hopefully, a good offseason for him and he's ready to go for 2025. And then, like I said, really excited for Troy Taylor. He was a nice spark plug for that bullpen that really needed it with a lot of the injuries. And then, you had obviously the Brash Santos injury, but then Spire underperformed. There was a time when middle of the year Saucedo was struggling a little bit, Thornton as well. So, really good to see Troy Taylor emerge as a legitimate weapon. The offense scored 7 runs yesterday, 6 more runs today, and they finish a really, really solid September. It's funny when this dust settles on the season, which it's settled. The Mariners are probably going to finish 10th, 11th, 12th or something like that in WRC plus overall, which is solid. Now, again, it's not, like any number, it's not everything. You got to score runs. But the frustrating thing, I think, for me is the consistency. Let's say you have a team WRC plus of 108. That's your overall team WRC plus. Obviously, it's not going to be 108 every month. You're going to have a month where it's 101, a month where it's 112. You can't have the same thing every month. But the Mariners have got to be better at finding a little bit more consistency. I think like Julio Rodriguez is a perfect microcosm of the team's overall performance. Julio's going to finish up with a pretty nice year. I think he's going to finish with like 4 wins above replacement level. Solid. But he's got to find the consistency. April to June was abysmal. What was it? WRC plus in the 80s, just not slugging at all. Still bring good defense to table and base running abilities, but Got to have that consistency. The hot months are great. I love it. This team is capable of that. We know that. We know when these guys get hot, they can be on another planet. I'm not expecting September of this year where I think they finished second or third in runs scored and second or third in WRC plus. I don't expect that to be the offense, but they've got to find better consistency. It can't be 3 months of the 27th ranked offense, then 1 month of the best, and just expect that 1 month to make up for everything. And there's nuance in there, right? You can just say, oh, the overall number is good. And that's great. And there's nothing wrong with that. Certainly better than a poor overall number, but they've got to find that consistency. And like I said, I think Julio is really the microcosm of that. I like what this coaching staff has done. I think Dan and Edgar have done good things. I hope Edgar stays on. Sounds like he's going to stay on in some capacity, just maybe not as the full-time hitting coach. We'll see who Dan Wilson and company reach out to be the hitting coach. Again, just hope Edgar's involved in some capacity. And I think the thing really with this offense is going to be, how can we go from day one to the end of the season with kind of what we saw in September? Again, it doesn't have to be exactly like September, but just find that consistency. And again, you're going to fluctuate. I'm not saying every month has to be the same. Players are going to have good months and bad months, but the Mariners seem to do it to the extreme, at least. So we'll see if maybe that's something they can do. But yeah, they finished up with a couple nice wins, actually 3 nice wins, actually 4. They won 4 in a row to finish the year. So, hey, it's been a long time since the Mariners lost a game. Well, at least we'll go a whole offseason without it. No, it's kind of funny. They're going to end up finishing a game back of Kansas City. And you can't help but think of that game the Mariners blew in Kansas City when they were up 8-9-0, whatever it was, and Kansas City ended up coming back and winning. You win that game, and that's one more win for you, one more loss for Kansas City. And guess what? That also means you beat them 4-6. You've got the tiebreak. There's also a game against Kansas City. I think Logan gave up a late home run to Nelson Velasquez when the Mariners were leading. Just a couple games you look at and you go, man, had they found a way in those games, they might be going to the playoffs. Now, again, every team can do that. Kansas City could then turn around and go, well, if we would have won this game or that game, we would be in. So I don't like to focus on that too much. And listen, I say it all the time, not in every post-game recap, but every team is going to have a game that they blow, that they're up 8-7-0. It happens to every team in the season, even the best. The 2001 Mariners blew a 14-2 lead in a game. But you hope it's counterbalanced by the fact that you're probably going to come back from a couple 5-6-0 deficits and win. The Mariners also lost 2 out of 3 to the Marlins. It happens, right? Every bad team, even bad teams get wins somewhere. Even the White Sox, as atrocious as they are, walk out with 39-40 wins. That's nothing. I'm not saying that's a lot of wins. Obviously, it's not. It's atrocious. But that still means 40 times the White Sox shook hands and won games against superior opponents. Sometimes bad teams nip you. The Mariners lost 5 out of 6 to Detroit. 2 of the games were the bullpen blowing late leads. That was leads that the offense could have added on to and didn't. So I'm not just blaming the bullpen here, but Jimmy Garcia gives up that home run in the game to Kerry Carpenter, and Munoz gives up a home run to a terrible baseball player, Javi Baez. Sometimes it happens, right? Even bad players get their numbers somewhere. Baez is going to hit a home run against somebody. Carpenter's a good hitter. He got Jimmy Garcia. It happens. The Mariners were dominated by the Angels second half of the year, lost 8 of their last 9. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes a team just has your number and you can't figure it out. Do you guys kind of see where I'm going with this? Here's the problem, though. It's not one thing. It's all of those added together, right? They could have made the playoffs with blowing that Kansas City game. If they would have won those 2 games against Detroit, they would have been in. And they still could have blown the game against Kansas City. They could have won that game against Kansas City and still struggled against the Angels and gotten in. They could have lost those games to Detroit and Kansas City, played better against the Angels and been in. They could have swept the Miami Marlins and gotten in. So it's not just one thing. The big loss against Kansas City is going to be the easy one to point to. And I will. It is kind of, I don't think it's ironic, but it's frustrating when you see where you are in the standings and you can look back on one game, but it's all of it. It's all of it put together. They could have still lost that game. Be better against the Angels. Well, how did they play? The reason the Mariners aren't in is because they were terrible against the Angels. One, don't blow an 8-run lead against Kansas City. So, you know what I'm saying? It's all of it. It's all of it put together. And that's why the Seattle Mariners aren't in the postseason. It's not one game. It's a body of work, and a body of work that was just not good enough compared to the competition in the American League. And it's extremely disappointing. Again, I go back to my post-game recap a couple years ago when they lost game 3 to the Astros. Great season. Time to take a step forward. Team has not done that yet. It sounds like there's not going to be a postseason or end of season press conference from Jerry Dipoto. Part of me says, thank God, because that's a chore to sometimes break down. Here's my thing. Listen, do I think what Jerry said last year was frustrating? Yes, I think I didn't mind the 54% comment that much. I think that was a little overblown. The doing the fans a favor, I think, was kind of like Jerry, put that back, regurgitate that line a little bit. I don't really care what's said, though. Outside of like a Kevin Mather situation, I don't really care what Jerry says. I want results. I want on the field results. Let's say the Mariners won the American League West this year. They're up 10 games. Let's say they held on and won. Would anybody care what Jerry said last year? Would anybody be going, oh man, Jerry said some weird things in a press conference? Who cares? AL West champs. Let's get to the World Series. Let's go. We'd be fired up. I need the results. I'm frustrated with Jerry, Justin, and obviously ownership. That goes without saying, because this was a team that looked like they were primed to really be, I don't want to call them a potential dynasty, but a really good core of players under club control that could be a perennial playoff team. And since that playoff appearance, they've missed it 2 years in a row. That's why I'm frustrated. I don't really care what they say. I don't care what they say this offseason. Whatever. Win me games. Go get the right players in here to win games. I think a change is needed. Now, we got change at the coaching staff level, which I think is going to pay dividends. I think Dan's done a nice job. Small sample. And clearly, I think Edgar's made some impact. Maybe just coincidence. I don't know. Maybe the team just played better. Maybe it would have been the same with Scott. I have no idea. We'll find out next year how Dan and company do, having a full offseason with the team. That's good. I think it was a good change. Scott was here 10 years. I don't think he's a terrible guy. I don't think he necessarily did a terrible job, but I think the voice was getting stale, and I think it was time. It's kind of what I view with the front office as well. I think Jerry's done some good things here. I do. I think if this job became open tomorrow, take away the John Stanton factor a little bit in ownership group, but I think it's an attractive job. I do. I think there is some things, a lot of things to build on here with a great core of starting pitching, and I even think a pretty good core of hitters, honestly. So I do think it would be an attractive job, but I don't know if they're the guys to get this team over the top. They haven't done it, and they've had multiple opportunities to do it. They're going to get another shot at it. I'm still going to be fair. If I like a move, I'm going to say I like a move. If I don't like it, I'm going to say I don't like it. I'm not going to go, well, I think Jerry should be fired, so this is a bad move. If it's a good move, I'll compliment it. If I don't think it is, I'll say it's not. So we'll see, though. We'll see. We'll see what they can do, and hopefully they can help get this team to the next level. It's going to be an interesting offseason. A season like this for the Mariners is, if this was 2019 or even 2021, I'd feel pretty optimistic. This is a team that took the next step forward, we'd be saying, right? But not every season's created equal, and this is a team that was expected to make a run and had a 10-game lead in the division. And we're sitting here not even in the postseason. It's a massive, massive disappointment. There's some good performances. Congrats to Cal Raleigh. The pitching was great. Offense had a nice September. I think Dan did a nice job, but it wasn't good enough. And that, not really putting Dan in that category, but overall it was not good enough. We need postseason appearances. Truthfully, this team should be winning divisions, hopefully. I mean, that's not taking away from Houston, but that's what we want. It's time, right? So we'll see what happens in the offseason. But I might take about a week break here, and then we'll be back with some offseason content. We'll look at some stuff, go over any news that happens. But once again, thank you all so, so much for all the support this year. Man, the season flew by. It sucks without baseball. Football's great, but it's once a week. You get hyped up, you're ready to go for it. But then you got to go to work the whole week, and there's no games on. You're just like, oh, is it Sunday yet? Is it Sunday? During baseball, it's great. You had a rough Monday at work? Baseball. Failed a test at school on Tuesday? Baseball. Little arguments with the family on Wednesday? You got your baseball game tonight. So baseball is just something that's always there for us. And despite all the frustrations this year, I will miss being able to turn on a Mariners game at night and watching it. Although I think my body will appreciate not having to stay up as late and get some earlier sleeps here, especially in the next few weeks. So thank you again to everybody. Baseball will be missed. The playoffs are coming up. Maybe I'll do a playoff prediction show. I don't know. Probably not. But you never know. Maybe I will. And thank you again to everybody here. Mariners finish up nice sweep, nice September, but not good enough. I think that's kind of be my slogan for this year. Not bad, but not good enough. That's kind of how I'd put this team. So we'll see what happens. It's off-season time. Thank you again, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe. And as always, go Mariners. Peace.